Timers and time-based events have been at the core of so many video games frameworks since the dawn of video game time. And yet there are sometimes some very strange instances that have always stood out to me and almost felt unnatural, despite it just using simple logic that was always possible in the first place. What I'm talking about are events in video games that force the player to not do anything for a certain period of time in order for an event to occur. And more specifically, the subject of today's video is the puzzle to get Regice in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire in the Island Cave. Upon entering this cave, there's a braille message that reads, "Stop and wait. Wait for time to pass twice." And from that point, you have to stay there, waiting 2 minutes in real time without doing anything else in order for the door to the chamber to open. And I always found this kind of weird and mystifying. I've played through this game dozens of times since I was a kid, and every time I've gotten to the Regice, I've just wondered how exactly this puzzle works. I've tried to cheese it before. I tried to just go in there and instantly wait 2 minutes without doing anything, without first interacting with the braille, and nothing happened. So let's break things open and look at how exactly the game tracks your inputs here and what all you really need to do in order to make this happen. So first and foremost, I'm going to talk about the pressing question that I'm sure many of you have had over the years. Does the game's internal battery affect anything here? And the answer simply is no. Ruby and Sapphire cartridges all contain a battery that's used for progressing clock-based events like the growth of berries or daily events. And once the battery runs dry, these clock-based events no longer occur. So thankfully, the function that controls this braille puzzle does not have to rely on the passage of time tracked to this battery at all, and instead has a function that only relies on the game simply having to be running. When you interact with the braille here, the game kicks off a task. This task counts down from 7200, one number at a time for every frame the game runs until it hits 0. Ruby and Sapphire run at 60 frames per second, so by the time it counts down to 0, assuming the game is running on normal hardware, exactly 2 minutes will have elapsed, and the door will open. But there's also a little bit more going on under the hood here as conditions for the door to open. This task is also always listening for new button inputs, and the first time you press a button, the braille will exit out, but the timer will continue to run, so the door can still open even if you don't have the braille message open. However, if you press another button after it exits out, the timer will then stop and the task will be exited, meaning you have to check the braille and wait 2 minutes again if you want the door to open. Interestingly enough, the L and R shoulder buttons don't count towards this unless you have L and R or L equals A mode enabled in the options. So if you're using normal button controls, you can actually mash these buttons to your heart's content and still have the door open. Also, it only listens for new button inputs. So if you were to hold a button down, as long as you keep that button held down, the timer will continue to run. Because of this, we can observe a mildly interesting thing here by holding down on the D-pad. When we hold it down, you notice that the braille message goes away, but our character doesn't turn around and move like they normally would with this button being held down. That is, they won't move until the timer is complete and the door is open. Immediately after the door opens, your character will unfreeze and start moving. Also, I didn't know this until making this video, you can interact with the hole in the wall for a special message. So yeah, that's all there is to it. Just wanted to demystify it a little bit, because I was always really curious about what was going on here. So let's talk about the hunt for shiny Regice that I did. So first off, here's a little PSA. If you want to shiny hunt it the way that I did with soft resets, do not attempt this on a Ruby or Sapphire with a dry battery, even though I just told you can solve the puzzle to get it on a dry battery. That's because when you attempt a soft reset hunt like this with a dry battery, the game's RNG always starts on the same initial seed when you reset the game, so you'd effectively just be seeing the same set of Regices over and over again, and not really seeing new random ones. This is also how Emerald's RNG works regardless of whether or not the internal battery is working, because the way the initial seed is determined is inherently bugged in Emerald in the first place. But, in fact, you really can hunt anything in Emerald, but you just have to approach it slightly differently. and I really hope we can do away with the stigma that so many people have towards hunting an emerald. In fact, the way that you hunt the Regis in Emerald is really cool and unique, and it's not something that you can do in Ruby and Sapphire. If you want to hunt Regice in Emerald, simply approach it, encounter it, run away from it, exit the room, and enter back in. You can just hunt it with runaways this way, and effectively encounter frames that are just random enough to find a shiny since you're leaving the game on for an extended period of time instead of constantly resetting. In Emerald, this encounter is also particularly cool because there's a special animation before the battle, and it says it flew away when you run from it, which is just pretty cool looking if you imagine it in real life. Anyway, that whole tangent aside, I found this during the Week of Legends this year, which is another one of those shiny hunting event weeks that's organized by Pricyzin, that's dedicated to shiny hunting legendaries. And I found this on stream, twitch.tv/absoltastic. Without further ado, here's the shiny Regice.
Sawk on your Black Tube badge quest. That's exactly what Sawk on means, yeah.
Thank you, Dallas, for actually getting the real definition. Sawk and Throw are interesting Pokemon. Like, I want to see their original design someday. I hope we get, like, design pictures of them leaked someday where they had, like, horns. They were originally supposed to have horns, which is really interesting. I think it ties into, like, that Japanese, like, folklore about the red Oni and the blue Oni, but I might be wrong on that. I definitely used a Sawk on my first Black playthrough, though. How about Sawk on the layout? Okay, fine, Alex. Alexplode. Shiny Regice! No way! Shiny Regice! No way! Hold on, let me put the Sawk on the layout. Shiny Regice after 4940. Shout out to all the attendees of SawCon 2021. Pretty cool convention. You didn't specify what Sawk to put on the layout, so here's like the world's tiniest Sawk. Yo, shiny Sawk! Check it out! Alright, I have not done a test capture for this thing at all, so this will be interesting. But I have my Smeargle. I have preparedness for the most part. So let's get this thing. Pencil the Smeargle. Shout out to Pencil. We're just gonna Super Fang it. Let me move this Arbok out of the way on the layout here. Wouldn't it be awful if Super Fang crit and knocked it out? Don't worry, that's not gonna happen. We could knock it out with Super Fang if it has an odd amount of HP, but the only thing you have to do to prevent that is to not Super Fang it while it's at 1 HP. So last time with the Regirock, the game that I actually caught it on, I didn't have 8 badges, but I had my level 100 Smeargle traded to it, and that was an experience. But we should be fine now. This game has 8 badges, and I got 8 badges on that game too, so I was a little bit more prepared this time. Regice always did remind me of like just a really big popsicle. I would not mind like Sawk on a Regice on a hot summer's day. Actually, it would be very painful. Its Pokédex describes it as like being extremely like cold. So I'd probably die if I were to like try and lick a Regice. I don't know if it would just taste like ice or have a flavor. I think this one, I think the shiny would have a flavor. Maybe just a very slight flavor, like, I don't know, like super watered down blue raspberry or something. And the normal one has no flavor whatsoever. Ramune flavor's good. I think that's play for what it is. Oh, the Regice just cursed. Come on, this is I don't curse on stream. That's not cool, Regice, for you to do that. Oh, come on, Regice, stop cursing. You have a potty mouth. Not cool. All right, let's act like we're in a Safari Week video right now. One shake. Oh, it broke out.
It stayed! There's Icy Wind. Oh, and we lose our Spore.
5 minutes of unsuccessful captures later.
Alright, let's hope this ball catches it. There we go. Regina Ice. Normal. Negative 328 degrees Fahrenheit. Things will freeze solid just by going. Not gonna even let it finish its thought. Just by going. And topical to what we were talking about, I'm just gonna name it Sawk. Shout out to the fighting type Pokemon from Gen 5. I now have a shiny Sawk in Pokemon Sapphire. So let me save real quick. I actually found something during the week of Legends. Let's go. Started this hunt literally yesterday, and it all ended up working out. There's some of my original Zigzagoon from the pickup gauntlet, and here's our Sawk. Let's see what nature it is. Alright. Hardy. So, no boosted stats, but that's not bad at all. Hardidra, as Shiny Hunter Zach would say. I've actually never been to a Hardee's before. Or a Carl's Jr., like the Echo Fighter of Hardee's. I still don't understand what the difference is between the two of them. But, yeah, I've never been to one. Let's check this thing out in battle. Alright, regular Makuhita. Shiny Sawk. Nice.
And here it is on the GameCube where it actually looks crazy. It's like Baja Blast green, and it has like purple eyes, or whatever the dots are on it. Probably not eyes. I don't know why I said eyes there. But that's my Regice eyes right there. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.